the spirit of 1.8 million West Virginians wills you to victory. Other places have pro teams, but in this state, the Mountaineers are a way of life.
When I competed and wore that number, I competed for the state and for the people, not just for the university.
Now, let's roll out the carpet and bring on the Mountaineers.
Pittsburgh's three.
Yes! Alexander. Robinson comes going. It's a dunk right at his face. Send it in, Joe. Butler into the lane, into traffic. It goes again. West Virginia has won its first Big East championship.
So long, Big Blue. Hello, Golden Blue. The West Virginia Mountaineers are going to the Final Four.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into the CRW Hoops WVU Postgame reaction show for the win over Pitt. West Virginia does defeat Pitt in the basketball version of the Backyard Brawl, 81-56 to move to 2-0 on the young 2022-2023 WVU basketball season. I'm your host, Jordan Cruz, filling in for Steven for the time being. He's hopefully going to hop on here and join me at some time here before we close this one out, but for now in the reaction show, I'll try and lead you guys through this, but I'll let you guys guide the conversation here as always in these post-game shows. Go ahead, drop your WVU questions, comments, concerns in the chat there. We'll talk about anything WVU basketball related you guys want, and I'll touch on some of the stats and some of the things that stood out to me along the way there. So let's start by doing that. Of course, as I said, final score 81-56. West Virginia does get the win over Pitt on the road. First road game of the season for this year's version of the Mountaineer basketball team, and they looked very good in this performance, actually, shooting over 50% from the field. I think to me that's the main bright spot really was how good the offense looked. It looked definitely much improved from what we've seen, or I guess what we expected to see from this team. Really, we knew it was going to be a defensive and rebounded kind of oriented team, but I think they've shown that they have some capable scorers. You had, 4 guys in double figures in this game, I believe, at least 3. I think it was 4, though. But 8 of 21 from three-point range for the Mountaineers, 38%. Not bad at all there, especially when you're playing a team in Pitt that you knew was going to shoot a lot of threes. And the Mountaineers, I thought, did a great job defending that, holding Pitt to only 21% from three-point range as Pitt went 5 of 23 there. So I thought that was a big key to the game, and the Mountaineers did a great job there. And, going into the game, I'm sure we didn't expect West Virginia to outscore Pitt from the three-point line, but they did. Strangely enough, the craziest stat to me is how dead even rebounding was in this game. Not only did both teams have 26 rebounds, but also both teams had 6 offensive rebounds and 20 defensive rebounds. Exact matchup there. So, I think the three-point differential was a big point difference in the game. West Virginia's job they did on Pitt's three-point shooting, the defensive job they did, as well as the Mountaineers' ability to score from beyond the arc. This game was pretty good. And then the other thing I think was the major key, of course, was West Virginia's ability to force turnovers. We know that they want to be able to out-rebound teams and to be able to force turnovers. Like I said, the rebounding was even in this one, but West Virginia did do a great job of forcing turnovers. And I think what they improved upon from the first game to this second one here is not only did they force turnovers, but they didn't turn the ball over themselves as much, which is something they struggled with, early, in the scrimmage. We saw that in the first game of the season. And I think West Virginia is the team that's going to turn the opponent over at a high rate. And if they can avoid to do that same thing themselves, and limit their turnovers, it's really going to help them. And they did a better job of that in this game. But they only turned the ball over 11 times, but did force Pitt into 19 turnovers. So I think those were, the two big keys to me: West Virginia's three-point defense, and then winning the turnover, having such a good turnover margin there as they did in that one. And then looking at some individual stats in this one, as I said, I believe it was 4 Mountaineers in double figures. And yep, I was correct. Your 4 Mountaineers in double figures are Joe Toussaint, led the Mountaineers in scoring with 18 points, also added 5 assists and 4 rebounds. Great game from him, I thought there. The transfer coming over, his best game. He looked really good. Played 30 minutes in this game. So he outpaced Kedrian Johnson in minutes by 4. Kedrian Johnson played 26, so almost even, but Toussaint, had the hot hand, so I think they played him a little bit more, and we saw his, best performance, and hopefully that's just the tip of the iceberg of what we could see from him. I thought that his ball handling skills were really good. He was really great at beating people off the dribble, great crossover there to make a guy miss, and was really good at getting to the rim, not only scoring and drawing fouls, but, we knew he had the mid-range shot, but we saw a little bit from the three-pointer from him in this one, looked good. He was 1 of 5 there, but the one that he had did look good. But I think his game is more, attacking. That's what you want from him, getting downhill on the dribble on guys, and that was a good performance from him to lead the Mountaineers in scoring. Like I said, 3 other Mountaineers in double figure. Eric Stevenson, a lot of people have thought that he may be the leading scorer for this team. He's done a good job scoring so far this season, did a better job of staying out of foul trouble in this game, so he was on the floor more. Also played 26 minutes, finished with 16 points, 7 of 12 from the field, 2 of 5 from three-point range. And then how about Muhammad Waggy, the transfer West Virginia added from the JUCO ranks? Only plays 13 minutes, but scores 11 points in those 13 minutes and pulls down 4 rebounds. Didn't miss a shot, 5 of 5 from the field. Loved the game I saw from him. I've loved his hustle, and I thought he was going to be one of my favorites, or maybe a fan for this team this season. And I think that continued into this game as well, as he showed not only is he going to be great on the glass, as we saw him, pull down offensive boards yet again, and as I said, 4. I don't know how many of those were on the offensive glass, but I know at least 1 or 2 were. But not only that, he's shown the ability to score the ball down low, 5 of 5 from the field. Just got to stay out of foul trouble. 4 fouls. That's why I only played 13 minutes, but is the other Mountaineer double figure. And then, of course, Emmett Matthews, I thought had another good performance. Didn't shoot the ball that much, but was all over the court making plays, even though, he doesn't pop up on the stat sheet too much besides the points. But he does finish with 10 points, played 32 minutes for the Mountaineers, 4 of 7 from the field, 2 of 4 from the three-point range. So pretty good job there all around. And then Trey Mitchell, not 100% yet, but did play 23 minutes, 3 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from three-point range. I think he's got the potential to be a high scorer for the Mountaineers when he's 100%, and maybe has star potential. I really just something about Trey Mitchell that I really like. 8 points and 6 rebounds for him in this one. Then other than that, you get, let's see, Jimmy Bell Jr., three rebounds, only played 8 minutes in this one. 3 points, though. He did have a score down low, though, so something we didn't see from him in the first game. Kedrian Johnson making plays on defense. Of course, he's great on that end. Also added 7 points, 4 assists. So those are some of the Mountaineers' statistical numbers there. See what you guys are talking about here in chat, and pull up some of these comments, see who we got in here tonight. WVU Mountain Lair with Kenny. Good to see you in here, man. What's going on, Kenny? You guys go check out Kenny as well. He's got a little channel he started over there, and he's doing some good things. I've been watching your videos, Kenny. I like what you're doing there with your picks and just some of your thoughts there, and you got thoughts on WVU, and I enjoy it. So you guys check that out as well. WVU Mountain Lair with Kenny. But he says, hi, everyone. This is a huge win for WVU. This is so awesome to get our revenge against Pitt. Yeah, great point there. West Virginia lost on the basketball side, on the football side, but comes back here on the basketball side and has a revenge game and gets a win to stay, undefeated on the current basketball season. And I think it's something that we were all looking forward to seeing, right, was this Mountaineer team against, another Power 5 opponent. We don't know how good Pitt's going to be. We know they were without, a couple other players that they feel like are going to be really big contributors to that team. So they may not be the best version of the Pitt team we saw as well. But we do know that this Pitt team was better than the Mount St. Mary's team that West Virginia played in game 1. And I thought that West Virginia looked even better than they did against Mount St. Mary's. So that's pretty good. And I think I see why Bob Huggins, is a little bit excited about this team. I really like a lot of these guys. You can go down the list, Eric Stevenson, Muhammad Waggy, just a lot of guys that can be fan favorites. I think there's going to be a lot of those on this team. And it's a team that I'm really excited about for Mountaineer basketball, which is more so than I can say, in the past 2 or 3 seasons, really, I think. I'm excited about it moving forward. And that's Kenny continues here, kind of sharing that same sentiment. He says he's so freaking happy about our win. Bright spot in Morgantown, which is, the college basketball men's team. Yeah, right now it is the bright spot that we're all hopefully clinging to, that it'll continue to be so moving forward. And we're hoping this can be a tournament team this season, and we'll see what they can do. I certainly think they look like, and they have the makings of being much better than they were projected to be by the Big 12 media, coming into the season. I believe they were picked, 8th or 9th in the conference. I think we're looking at a team that's potentially maybe even a top 5 team in this conference. We'll see moving forward how that holds up. There's a lot of tough competition on the way for the Mountaineers, particularly with that tournament coming up in Portland. We're going to see what they can do against some of the top teams in college basketball. And we know that the Big 12 is the toughest conference in college basketball. So it's no easy task, but I do like the team that West Virginia has went out and got this time I think they really hit on some of these transfers a lot more so than you could say in the past from WVU, especially looking back to last season. I said it in our season preview show here on the CRW Hoop side, that I thought going out and getting Power 5 players was a big move. A lot of these transfers, they either went Power 5 guys, if they were going transfer portal where they added JUCOs, and the JUCO guys they added, I think are really solid. Muhammad Waggy being one of those, and you saw that tonight. So I'm really excited about this team for sure. Luke Bart, good to see you in here again, man. I know you're in here occasionally, and I appreciate you always chiming in and coming here, and hope you continue to come back in with us here. And, that's a good time to remind everybody while you're in here on the video side here on YouTube. If you're watching this live, or if you're watching this later on a playback, either one, while you're in here, do us a favor. Just take a second, scroll down, hit that thumbs up, give us that like. That'll really help this video's performance and help future videos performances as well. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Helps us, helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. And of course, as always, if you're in here live with us, drop your thoughts, in the chat. We'll address your comments as many as possible as we can get to here. Like I said, basketball is a little bit shorter game than football. Football post-game shows typically run 45 minutes to an hour. Basketball ones we kind of wrap up a little bit sooner, unless you guys are really lively in chat and got a lot of thoughts going. We can address those as well. But Luke Bart says, keep it coming tomorrow at noon. Yeah, fingers crossed. West Virginia can get their first win over Oklahoma tomorrow as well. That would be an awesome weekend for Mountaineer sports in a time that we desperately need some bright spots. That being said, look who it is. Bradley here, one of our hosts here at the CRW side. Of course, you guys know him if you follow our content here on the webcast. What's going on, Brad? Good to see you, man.
How's it going, guys? I'm sorry if I'm a little in and out. I'm kind of setting things up at work, so I thought I'd hop in for a minute.
Nah, man, good. I'm glad you popped in.
Yeah, so man, initial reactions. I've been giving Steven a little bit of a hard time. Been giving Bobby Huggins a little bit of a hard time, talking about, I wasn't too sure a couple down years in a row, but I really like this team we got going. I like the hustle that they have. They seem to be a real Bob Huggins team. And, man, I was really excited to watch them today. I didn't get to watch them as much as I wanted to, but what I saw was very exciting.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was just talking about as well was I'm super excited about this team, and I think I see why Bob Huggins is excited about this team. And I think that it is a bright spot that we desperately need right now, and that I'm hoping that it's not, fool's gold moving forward, because we're really going to see, what they've got moving forward with this tournament in Portland and, of course, in the Big 12 Conference. But, my bold prediction going in was I feel like this could be a tournament team, and I'm going to stick by that. But, I think this team also has the makings of a team that can maybe be a top 5 team in the Big 12 if they, continue to improve throughout the season. But like I said, I'm just hoping we're not, buying into the fool's gold. Brad popped out there, may have lost signal. I had to pop out for a second. I think he said he was at work there setting up, but that's my only concern. I want to preface, I know we're all excited right now, and it definitely is a bright spot and everything, but I don't want to get too carried away. I know it's still early in the season, but I really do like a lot of these guys that we have on this team, so that's the one thing that I will say. I'm super excited, but I'm trying to temper my expectations as well.
Yeah, sorry, I accidentally hit a button there and popped out.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
Yeah, man, I think that this is where I look at some of the differences from last year's team. We had a very experienced team last year, but they were, not really meeting expectations of what we had on them last year. And I think that even early in the season last year, I had some skepticism because we really just had Taz Sherman scoring and then other guys just being better basketball players than what we were playing against. And I think that's when I look at this team, I'm seeing, some more of the intangibles. They're playing good basketball, but man, they're hustling and they're trying to rebound. And the key to the team just seems to have good chemistry. So, that's just what you're looking for. And so that's something I definitely noticed is a difference between this year and what I've seen last year, even this early on playing against weaker opponents.
Yep, I agree. And that's what I said about trying to temper my expectations, because we started 13-2 last season, and we thought we may have had something, and then we all know how that ended up. So that's the one thing that kind of gives me makes me a little bit leery. But I'm like, this team just has a different makeup to them. I think a lot of these guys, really gritty guys that get after it. A lot of them, got that dog in them, as they like to say. You know what I'm saying? That's what I feel like about Eric Stevenson. A lot of these guys for sure. And I think some of these, not only did they hit, I think they hit in the transfer portal for sure a lot better this year. I think getting the Power 5 guys versus to the high group of 5 guys is when they went out and got guys that fit Bob Huggins' mold. But I think they've hit on these JUCO guys as well, and I think Muhammad Waggy's performance in these first 2 games is really showing that. He's really been impressive, I think.
Yeah, man, Wagyu has definitely been a guy that's been a highlight this year. I say he's been super fun to listen to and watch. Him and Okongwu as well. Okongwu is really taken a step this year, I think, in my opinion. And Joe Toussaint, that guy has been really active so far from what I've seen him, man. You just love it. And, like, I think this comes back to the point where I'm sure quite a few people have brought it up by now, talking about Bob Huggins' comment on the transfer portal being like, maybe it's all right. And, as a West Virginia fan that has a little bit of PTSD and whiplash from transfer portal woes and other athletics, it is very comforting to see a coach really make good use of it and what we know could happen for, a West Virginia team, man.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one thing, I think we're starting to maybe see a little bit why, with this game at least, maybe showing a little bit of why Bob Huggins is a little bit higher on this team. It seems to be a little bit more excited than he has, in the past, 2 to 3 seasons, I think for sure. I'm going to chat here. Sorgi Stories. What's going on, man? Good to see you in here again. Says nice win for the Mountaineers. I agree with that. Then asks thoughts on number 2 Gonzaga falling to Michigan State. Did they end up losing? I didn't see the final. I know that Michigan State was up on them big there, and I seen Gonzaga made a run and got it close, but I didn't get to see what the final was. But that's interesting. A lot of people are talking about Gonzaga as a favorite, and I think that's the story early. Is there's been quite a few upsets, and some of the top teams kind of struggling more than you'd expect. You see Gonzaga ultimately following to Michigan State. And then I know North Carolina struggled tonight with College of Charleston as well. I can't remember who the opponent was in the first game. They struggled in both of those first 2 games as well. So, it's interesting. The top team's kind of struggling early on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's early season basketball.
Yeah, you never know. You never know what's going to happen in these early season games. You see a lot of those crazy upsets. Seems like the first week or 2 of the college basketball season, a lot of that popping up for sure. But I thought that. Let me pull up this. I got the stats up here. I forgot what the field goal percentage for West Virginia. I think that was one of the things that really stood out. I know early in the game it was high, but finishing at 52.6% from the field, the Mountaineers did. So I think I don't know, to me, Brad, that was probably the biggest surprise of the game, was that the Mountaineers shot the basketball better than Pitt did. I know we've all kind of been tongue-in-cheek talking about Bob Huggins. When they ask him about the basketball team, he always talks about, when they shoot, it goes in and stuff. But with this team, maybe he's actually a little bit serious about that. It certainly seems like that. If this game is any indication moving forward, 38% from 3, not too bad, but the 52% from the field is what really stands out. I know it was over 60% in the first half early, and then even, over 50% from 3 at one point in the first half as well. But what do you think about this team's ability to score the basketball? We thought, this is definitely more of a Huggins team, and they're going to be doing great defense and rebounding. But what are your thoughts on this team's ability to score the basketball, and do you think it could be better than we thought going in?
Gotcha. You actually mind repeating that, Jordan? I'm sorry. I got caught up for a second.
No problem. I was just asking, what do you think about this team coming out this game and kind of showcasing ability to score the basketball and shoot a little bit better than maybe we all kind of assumed going into this season, or we thought this team would be more defense oriented and rebound oriented, that maybe they have some good shooters and guys that can score it more than we thought going into the season.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting, especially with the brand of basketball that Bob Huggins plays, because, you can't really get aggressive on defense if you're not making baskets. And I think that that's something that we've definitely seen hurt our team in the last few years is, just if baskets don't go down, you can't really, even though we're not going to be pressed Virginia, we still play very aggressive defense. And it's kind of hard to get that set up and get into a flow if you're not scoring,
Yeah, that's true. Oh, Sorgi Stories here says ESPN sent me a thing that they lost, but Gonzaga won. Oh, Gonzaga did end up coming back and winning that game. So, yeah, like it kind of goes with the theme, top team struggling, but pulling it out in most cases so far. And Gonzaga does end up pulling it out, actually. So a little bit correction of earlier, 64-63. Gonzaga beats Michigan State, but had to come from behind to do it. I knew Michigan State was up big at one point. So some interesting games early in the college basketball season, and the basketball version of the backyard brawl, definitely an interesting one as well. The Mountaineers coming out on top. I think a lot of people thought this would be a closer game. I believe the spread was 2.5, 3 points heading into the game, but the Mountaineers end up with the blowout victory, 81-56. So 2 games for the Mountaineers on the season, 2-0, 1 at home, 1 on the road, both blowout victories. What is this kind of, has these first 2 games, Brad, changed your expectations for this team this season? And, I've said, like I said, I feel like this can be a tournament team. Did you already feel like that going into the season, or have your thoughts kind of changed and now you feel like that? Just kind of what's your overall expectations and your feel for this team, moving forward, trying to project a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, man, I was definitely a little bit negative going into the season. I always think that any Bob Huggins team can be a tournament team. I think that he's just that good of a coach. But I did have kind of low expectations for this team this year. A lot of pieces that haven't been in there yet, a lot of guys that might not fit to his system, but the guys seem to be meshing well. And I really think that if they can get some team chemistry going, I think that they can make a real honest run in the tournament to be real, man.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. I think this team has the ability, that they seem like the type of team that's, like I said, gritty, going to grind it out. And I think that they have the makeup of a team that's going to compete with anyone. I don't think they're going to back down from anyone. And they're going to see, some of the better teams in college basketball playing in the Big 12 conference. And so I think, when you play in this conference, it positions you to the point where when you get to the NCAA tournament, you have the capability of making a run. I think that's why we've seen that in recent years. You look at a team like TCU last season, didn't seem like a big threat, but then made a run in the tournament. Or, Iowa State, I think that's who I'm thinking of. Sorry, I think I said TCU, but one of the two, I know, made a run. I believe it was Iowa State. But, just things like that. Even, this Big 12 is a deep conference, and I think it's the toughest conference in basketball. And if you can compete in it, you can definitely compete in the tournament. And that's what raises your excitement as a Mountaineer fan, is just you want to see the team get back to the big dance, because, anything can happen as long as you make it there. But what are your all's thoughts? Let us know in the chat. What are you thinking about this team moving forward? 81-56 victory over Pitt here in the second game of the season. We'll get ready to wrap up post-game show here before too long. But, just let us know what you're thinking about this team, because, I said my bold prediction heading into the season was I felt like this could be a team that could compete, to top 5 in this conference. And that I felt, my bold prediction, I put it out there that this is going to be a tournament team, and I stand by that now. And even more so, I think I just have a good feeling about it. And I feel like they're really got a makeup of some guys that, truly have that Bob Huggins mold to do some good things. They've really hit on some of these transfers this year. I think JUCO and transfer portal going, Power 5 versus kind of the route they went last season. Look, here we got, what's up, fellas? Hoops from the Hills in here commenting. Coos and Mountaineer Paul. You guys, of course, if you haven't checked it out already, you're missing out. You're going to need to do that moving forward in basketball, as far as Mountaineer basketball content goes. Definitely subscribe up that channel. It's Hoops from the Hills. Our good friends Mountaineer Paul and Coos from Coos' Corner, who I'm sure you all know here on YouTube, have teamed up to do a Mountaineer basketball dedicated channel called Hoops from the Hills. So check that out and subscribe that up for other Mountaineer basketball content as well this season, in addition to us here on the CRW Hoops side. What's going on, Coos? Good to see you, man. See, we got Kenny in here. Muhammad Waggy surprised me tonight how well he played. Yeah, that's what I was saying a little bit earlier as well, Kenny. I think that what surprised me most about the way he played tonight is I knew that he had the rebounding in his game, and he had performed great on the offensive glass and otherwise, but he really showcased some things, being able to score the ball down low, 5 for 5 from the field, getting into double figures with 11 points, and showcased a really good, down low game in the low post there that maybe we didn't know he had.
Yeah, and I think that Wagner is one of those names that I didn't hear as much, and I've heard a lot of Joe Toussaint, Eric Stevenson, obviously Emmett Matthews coming back. Wagner is not one that I really ever heard. Wagner, right? Man, I'm just hearing his name all the time, and I've been listening more than I've been able to watch. But that guy really is just, somebody that's caught my attention so far for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's got the makings of a fan favorite for sure. Like I said, I think there's a few guys that may end up, being able to have that moniker as a fan favorite. But to me right now, I think Waggy and Eric Stevenson definitely, fit that mold, and maybe Toussaint after tonight. That's a guy that maybe we haven't mentioned enough, I guess, up to this point. 18 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, I believe is what it was. Don't have the numbers pulled up on my phone again right now, but I know it was something along that line. I know it was 18 points, but what do you think about Toussaint? The things he showed there running the point, I thought he showed some really good ball handling, and some of the crossovers he were giving guys was just nasty, and his ability to get downhill and attack the rim is something that I think West Virginia hasn't had, in a while, maybe since a player like Juwan Staten, really think about guys being able to attack the rim like that.
Yeah, I think he's really exciting. I think he will do better when he settles down a little bit. I think he's still a little bit dribble happy right now. But I think as he gets more comfortable, man, he realizes that he doesn't have to, try to really kill himself to show off. I'm not saying show off, but you know what I mean? And so,
okay, so just to need to have him.
No, I understand. No, I get what you're saying, because that's something that I saw, especially more so in the first game than in this one. I think I thought this game he played a little bit more, under control and within himself maybe a little bit. But the first game I thought maybe, I didn't know if it was just nerves or he was a little bit excited, but I thought he was a little bit out of control at times. And I think he does still have that gear to him where he can be a little bit sporadic or erratic, I guess I should say. But I think he looked a little bit more in control in this game. With his ball handling and his ability to get around guys, get his shot off, and get to the rim as well. Storgy Stories with a great point here. I like this team. Huggins is going to lead us to another good season. I think so too. I think it's got the makings of a typical, one of those bounce back years from Huggins we've seen him do in the past. Sometimes he's been able to turn it around in 1 year. This time it may have taken him, an extra year, but it looks like he's finally got guys that really, fit his mold of the type of players that he likes. I love the grittiness I see in this team. And I think that they've got some guys that can really, could potentially have a good season. As Kenny says as well, could see something special with this team moving forward. Hoops from the Hills. Koo says, I also liked what I saw from Emmett, Toussaint, and Stevenson. Yep, exactly. Emmett looks good coming back as well. Stevenson, I love that guy, arm sleeve, Steve. That's maybe my favorite player on the team right now. I don't know. I like a lot of these guys, but something about Stevenson, I like to say he's got that dog in him. He really does.
Okay, thanks, man.
And then Koo says, let's not get too excited as well. Last year's team was also good out of conference. Yeah, definitely. That's one thing I was mentioning earlier. Started last season 13-2, I believe, and we all know how that ended up. So I'm trying to temper my expectations a little bit, because I don't know how good this Pitt team is going to be, and it's a Pitt team that wasn't at full strength either. We know they were missing a couple players that are potentially going to be good contributors for them throughout the remainder of the season. And West Virginia has a lot of tough opponents coming up with the tournament in Portland, and of course the toughest conference in basketball, in my opinion, here in the Big 12. So we're going to find out more about it moving forward. I'm trying not to get too excited, because I know West Virginia's not going to win the Big 12, I don't think. So I'm trying not to get too excited, but it's hard not to with the need of a bright spot, and then coming out and dominating Pitt in a game I think a lot of us thought may have been tight. But like I said, how good this team can be remains to be seen, but I think we can definitely see the potentials there. But I agree, let's temper the expectations a little bit, but definitely enjoy it as well.
And I think that
because last season was a success and then fell off. Go ahead.
Yeah,
man.
and I think Kuz kind of brought up 3 players there. And like I said, I'm sorry, guys, I'm a little scattered. I just really wanted to get in here and talk a little bit. He brought up Emmett Matthews, and I don't think that you could really understate or overstate how significant that man feels to this team. I think that just coming in and having that connection already with Bob Huggins, and that guy always loved West Virginia. Even when he was playing for Washington, I still saw him at home football games. He was still traveling to watch Mountaineer games. And so I think that he really just loves the program. And I think that that's kind of like the person that's going to get the team to rally when things get bad. And so, I think Emmett Matthews is probably the most significant player on this team, hands down, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that he has, to me, what Emmett feels like to this team is kind of like the glue guy, and maybe even you could say like the heart of the team. I think that that's what he feels like to me. He's got the leadership capabilities and the experience. He's the guy that's been here before, can talk to a lot of guys, not only about Coach Huggins, but about the program, about the university, the state, things like that. And I think he definitely seems like the team leader, and I would call him the glue guy and possibly even the heart of the team. So I agree with you like that. I think he's very important to this team's success moving forward. Emmett's going to play a big part in that. Whether that pops up on the stat sheet or not, West Virginia would love for it too. I think if he can be a double-figure scorer, that's really going to help West Virginia if they can get double figures from, I'd say if they get Emmett and Stevenson in double figures, almost every game if they could, and then add another guy or two, that can alternate who that is. Tonight it was Toussaint and Waggy, but could be somebody else moving forward. But I think that's a good formula for them as far as scoring if they continue playing defense the way that they've shown early in this season. Sorgy Stories says he's going to head out. See you guys later, and let's go Mountaineers. Absolutely, always let's go Mountaineers. And have a good night, Sorgy. Don't worry, we're not going to stay on here too much longer ourselves. No, it's late. Some people are probably going to get up early and travel up to Morgantown tomorrow for the football game there with the noon kicking in Oklahoma, so we won't keep you guys too much longer. We did want to talk a little bit here with the post-game show. We're going to try and do these for every basketball game throughout the season as much as possible here on the CRW Hoops side. And then, of course, these will be on YouTube as well, the podcast episodes, which those will be on the audio version, which you can find on any podcast platform. We'll have one of those a week moving forward. Didn't get to get one out this week for extreme, reasons beyond our control, but we'll have one moving forward, and we will have some post-game shows, of course, moving forward as well. But appreciate you, Sorgy, and have a good night, man. Kenny says he met Emmett Matthews one time, took his mom to Rosemary Memorial Hospital. Great young man, soft-spoken, glad he plays tougher than he sounds. Yeah, he's tough on the court. Good to hear he's a nice man in person as well. And then Cruz goes on to say here, the eye test tells him that this team is better than last year. Yeah, that Cruz, I'd agree with that 100%. I think that's a great point. I couldn't put it any better than that. I want to temper my expectations, not get too excited. But the one thing I will say for sure is that I definitely think we can agree this team looks improved. And I think the record will reflect that at the end of the season. That being said, we'll get out of here before too much longer. Appreciate you guys that are in the chat here talking a little bit with us here post-game, and always appreciate you guys doing that. And like I said, we'll be here after every West Virginia basketball game moving forward to do this more as well as the season progresses with a long West Virginia basketball season on the horizon. Kenny says, can't wait for January to see how much Jose Perez helps the team. Yeah, he'll be here. I think he's going to be on campus. I can't remember here before too long enrolled, and I think they said he can play as early as mid to late December. So adding another potential scoring option would be great for a team that looks like they can score it maybe better than we all assumed. The verdict's still out on that, but we like the defensive rebounding of this team already. So if they can add some more scoring to that, this can only improve this team as well. So I agree there, Kenny. I'm excited about that as well. But we're getting ready to get out of here before too much longer. Before we do, Brad, any final thoughts? Anybody that we didn't really talk about, player that stood out maybe that wanted to touch on that we neglected to, or any talking points you wanted to bring up before we get ready to wrap up this post-game show here on the CRW Hoops?
No, man, I think that pretty much does it for me. I thought that was pretty good coverage again. Sorry I couldn't really contribute too much, but I wanted to get in here and get out what I could.
No, man, I appreciate you hopping in, and I thought you had some great points as always, and looking forward to talking some more WVU basketball as the season moves along, not only with Brad, but with you guys as well here in the Country Roads webcast community and throughout Mountaineer Nation. If you're in here on the video side on YouTube, we're streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch live. But if you're watching on YouTube live, or if you're watching this on the playback on YouTube, do us a favor, hit the like button. That'll really help this video's performance and help future videos' performances as well. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. And speaking of more Mountaineer sports content, be sure and tune back in here on the Country Roads webcast channel following tomorrow's football game against Oklahoma for our post-game show that we host there for the Voice of College Football here on YouTube. You can check that out on the Voice of College Football channel, our channel, or the West Virginia channel there at the Voice of College Football Network. Please subscribe to the West Virginia channel there if you haven't already. Trying to continue to grow that, and we're hosting post games that shows there all season. So plenty of content coming from us here at the Country Roads webcast, not only on the basketball side, but on the Mountaineer football side, as there's still a few weeks remaining there. And in this period where both of these sports are coexisting, there's plenty of content to come out, and we'll be covering it all here on the Country Roads webcast. So be on the lookout for more CRW Hoops content moving forward, and of course West Virginia football content from us here at the Country Roads webcast as well. And if you want to start with that tomorrow, the post-game show is a great place to start with it. Hop in the chat, drop some comments, questions, concerns following the West Virginia football game tomorrow, where we'll be back here to talk about it. And like I said, we'll be back here for post-game shows for the basketball games throughout the remainder of the season, and CRW Hoops podcast episodes in between there. So plenty of Mountaineer Hoops content from us. And like I said, in the chat here, Hoops from the Hills, going to have some great Mountaineer basketball content as well from our friends Mountaineer Paul and Coos. So subscribe to us and subscribe to them as well if you haven't already. That being said, excited for the Mountaineer basketball season, excited for this team. For Bradley, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.